The Bolliger and Mabilliard manufactured surf coaster was met with very mixed opinions from the roller coaster community when it was announced in 2022. A new model of roller coaster is always one of the most exciting things to try, but stand-up coasters have never been something that have been extremely well received by the public or enthusiasts. With a new redesign, this prototype offered seats that move from their initial position vertically 2 inches up and 2 inches down. It was called gimmicky, and those following the resurrection of this model were really unsure if it was a good idea. And you can see in the media that SeaWorld themselves don't even want to refer to it as a stand-up coaster. There's a new problem arising in the industry right now of parks buying things for clickbait instead of buying good rides. This business model is not bringing people back to the park for revisits, and at first look, this is exactly what the surf coaster seemed to be trying to do. People standing on a coaster, bouncing up and down, TikTok seeing it, and boom, SeaWorld has their name out there for millions to see. Could it really save this model? Would simply letting the seat column move up and down these 4 inches actually make that huge of a difference where it deserves an entirely different title away from the word standing? If anyone could do it right, it would be B&M. As always, I'd like to break down this coaster into 5 categories. These categories really are what make a roller coaster great in my opinion. So starting off with technical, I don't think there's a coaster out there that has really surprised me more than this thing after Ride 1. It's really a strange feeling to be pulled up off the ground, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Jumping doesn't necessarily enhance the ride much apart from the acceleration during the initial launch. The forces do everything for you here during the entire layout. The negative forces that pull you out of your seat move the entire seat column up for you, and they force your feet off the ground. There is a bit of a shake to the ride, but it doesn't really bother me too much. It's not a vibration or jackhammering. It's just a heavy shuffle that doesn't really take too much away from the ride experience. It's plenty smooth. The vest restraints are tight, and even after one ride, if you're skinnier, you'll feel that pain start in your collarbones. After 15 rides, I could feel that my collarbones were still sore a couple days later, and the vests are on a spring so they can move in and out for the duration of the ride. It doesn't hurt your crotch, but you'll feel your legs getting tired of pushing against the 3+ G of positive force. Those forces that force you into your seat on a regular roller coaster are now going all into your legs, and it does get a bit tiring. The vertical movement feels smooth, and when on the way back down from a moment of airtime, there's a nice, strong dampening effect to catch you and help with that landing to be a bit softer. Unfortunately, some seats already seem to be losing this dampening effect, and while stationary, you can feel a difference from seat to seat of how easy it is to bounce on certain ones versus others. It doesn't seem to affect the feeling mid-ride though. Onto the layout, I think it's lacking for what the seats do on this ride. The first 2 elements are excellent, but the inversion, for instance, could have more hang time. This ride is all about experiencing the negative G's for as long as possible, so the middle of the layout here is a huge miss for me. Strong positive G's aren't really fun when you're standing, and then 8 seconds straight of positives are an unfortunate way to use the speed that the ride still has during this part of the layout. I think if B&M knew how great these seats are at 0G, they would have focused on more hills, possibly a straight airtime hill, and less on these turns. Of course, the space constraints of this area of the park maybe don't work best for this type of ride. A longer and skinnier plot of land may have worked better, and making use of where Icebreaker's back section is what would have made this an unbelievable experience. In my personal opinion, Icebreaker should have never been built, and they should have spent more money making this ride better. But SeaWorld seems to all be quantity instead of quality as of late, so hopefully we're at the turning point now where we'll see some theming and story start to go into the attractions. For someone who was really expecting very little out of this ride, they did a good job introducing this type of coaster to the world. Layout aside, this is one of the most fun experiences you can have in an attraction. The adrenaline is good, its intensity is average, and as mentioned before, somewhat heavy on the turns in the middle of the layout. It's exciting, and it's a ride you'll want to get on to ride again and again. I've also touched on the pacing when talking about the layout from a technical standpoint earlier. It's a miss in the middle with just so much speed there. There should have been more airtime instead of these wasted turns. The ride isn't very long to begin with, but it doesn't have enough speed to be longer. It goes hand in hand with a taller and faster layout being a much better choice here. I wouldn't want to see a surf coaster that is slower or shorter than this one. It's definitely a ride that is bigger equals better. Here we are again with SeaWorld. Big opportunities, but coming very short. A few water effects that missed riders would go a long way throughout this layout, and it would also combat the heavy gray out forces mid-ride. During all the moments low to the ground, we should be getting a little splash of water on us, and there's a huge missed opportunity there. There's one major turn seen from everywhere around the area, and it's quite low to the ground. A curved water feature highlighting this turn in the shape of a wave would have been perfect. These are things that pay off because they're shown on social media and are visually impressive to people watching the ride, but for some reason SeaWorld still doesn't understand this, and I don't know why. It's no knock against the creative team of SeaWorld, it's really just that the budget needs to be higher for these sort of rides. A ride that is as impressive to watch off-ride as it is to ride is a huge sell, and honestly, if you're in this area of the park right now, you just want to go get out of the sun and go somewhere else. On a positive note, the water cannons in the pool of water have a nice motion to them that sound like ocean waves crashing on the beach, which is a really nice touch, and the sand around the area really makes you feel like you're right there on the beach. Plus, the ride's lighting at night looks really incredible at this pool of water, and that nice, relaxing look of the waves moving on the blue track should have been all over this entire area. It's a nice area, but looking at what the area used to be, you could overall call it somewhat a downgrade, unfortunately. SeaWorld needs to start giving theming a budget as big as the ride itself. We're in Orlando and people just really expect more than this, in my opinion. This ride is of course unique, and the gimmick actually works. It doesn't feel like a gimmick, it's an incredible feeling and a really good ride. B&M has done it again with this coaster type. The elements aren't unique, but they don't need to be. Air hills are what make this coaster model excel. It's re-rideable, and it's one of a kind. It's very, very good. There we are, the final scores tallying up to be much better than I originally expected. And even right now, I'm ready to drive over to SeaWorld and ride this coaster some more. It truly is giving a feeling that is different from any other ride on the planet. So did SeaWorld and B&M resurrect the stand-up coaster in a way where it deserves a totally new model name? I'm gonna say yes. This ride is incredible. I can't believe it ranks so highly for me. There's no video or anything that can just describe this feeling. During the first launch, you're already getting airtime during a launch, which is just something that has never been done before. The coaster is incredible. I rate pretty harshly. This is one ride that you really need to try to understand. Hopefully they can do something different with the vests in the near future, because what a fun roller coaster and an awesome addition to SeaWorld Orlando. I can't believe it. It's probably in my top 45 or so out of approximately 850 different coasters. And as more of this coaster type opens up, this may drop heavily as better layouts and better uses of this system arrive. But for right now, this thing is great, and hats off, because it's very fun. Can't wait to ride it again. Thanks as always for watching this review, and until next time,